Welcome to the MPG podcast, where your host, John Grabio, talks racing, driving, training, and cars with Newman Watts racing driver Jordan Missig. And now, here's John and Jordan.
Well, welcome to the MPG podcast. I'm John Grabio, along with Jordan Missig, catching up on what he has been doing this past week. Today is a Saturday, April 28th morning. Here I'm in central Illinois, outside of Bloomington, kind of between Bloomington and Champaign, out on my farm. And Jordan, where are you today?
I'm back home in Shanahan, Illinois. So I actually get to stay home for a little bit.
Very nice. So that's kind of by Joliet, kind of maybe an hour south of Chicago, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And well, I watched a race last week, an actual car race last week, during all this craziness that's going on in our country here in the springtime of 2020. But I watched a car race last week. It was cool.
Yeah. Good. What kind of race was it?
Well, it was a F3 invitational race.
Oh, yes. I've heard of those races. Very well.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine racing in that race, and that friend was you. So
yes.
So tell us a little about F3 America. What's the exact word? F3 Championship America?
What they call it is FRAmericas. So it stands for Formula Regional Americas. They used to be called last year F3 Americas, but kind of with the mix-up between F3 and Americas and the FIA F3 that's over in Europe, they decided to change the name to kind of give them a little bit more clarification, as well as like more of a stepping stone kind of placement. So the way it goes, if you were to follow the formula stepping stones, it would go F4, then it goes to FR Americas, so Formula Regional Americas. Then it goes to FIA F3, FIA F2, and then eventually, if you're good enough, you get up to Formula 1.
Okay, so I would like to get a little bit more clarification on this. So F4 racing is primarily in Europe, right?
Yeah. It can be primarily in Europe. It's anywhere. I mean, the U.S. does the F4 racing as well. F4 will travel. There's a U.S. championship that travels along with the F3 series, Formula America series. So, F4 kind of goes all around the world along with F3. They're kind of like your stepping stones kind of racing. So
what kind of cars are you racing in F4 in the United States? Let's talk about the United States.
So if you're racing an F4, it's kind of between, I want to say, like a Skip Barber racing school. If you've ever heard of that racing school at all, they had those formula cars. It's kind of like the same thing. So I'm thinking you're looking around a Skip Barber Formula 2000 is what they say. So it's very close to like what a USF 2000 is, but it's more based for the Formula series, not like IndyCar.
Okay, and so F2000, and then we move into the F3, which is now Formula Regional Championship, right?
Correct, yeah, Formula Regional Americas is what it's called.
Formula Regional Americas. And that's an F3, which is that is what we showed last week, which is your new car, which is built in South Carolina by a company called Ligier.
Ligier. What?
And so that car is what you're driving, and now to swing back around. So what's F2? So is there an F2?
Yeah. So the way it goes, like I said before, it goes from Formula Regional Americas then up to FIA F3. So then you're racing in Europe with basically you're traveling around with the FIA Formula 1 series. F3 will do some races with them, and then F2 is the stepping stone below F1, which will do primarily, I think, 10, maybe 12 races with Formula 1 throughout the season. They'll go to the same tracks as Formula 1 and be like a support race for them. So you have F3, then you move up to F2, and then eventually it's F1.
And and here in America, we go from F3. Those you can also go in then to Indy Lights, which travels around with the IndyCar circuit, and then that goes to next step would be Indy cars.
Yes.
So, but the F3 racing is road tracks, where Indy Lights
Correct.
is
Yeah.
primarily ovals along with the Indy cars.
Some road courses, yeah, here and there.
Okay. So the F3 race you did last week, since there are no races going on right now, they decided
Yes.
to host a iRacing invitational race. And hopefully our listeners know all about iRacing. It is a simulated racing, virtual racing that's huge, that's been around for years, and it is the premier virtual simulator racing system, competition-wise, I would say, right? There's many other ones, but it's the premier one, right?
It's practically the closest thing you're going to get to actually being on a real racetrack and driving a real car. It's that close.
It's that close with car setups, chassis setups, tire pressures, aero setup, and everything that you can adjust. And iRacing does all kinds of racing, including road racing, formula type racing, stock car racing. And is the biggest section of iRacing, you're very well versed in this, is the biggest portion of iRacing stock car racing?
They try as best they can, because they are a motorsports platform, to try to, kind of divert to each and every motorsports sanctioning body, just to kind of give each other like some love and everything. Like, they'll help the IMSA series out, they'll help NASCAR out, they'll help IndyCar out, and they'll go even over to Europe and introduce some like Formula One cars, some Porsche GT cars. I mean, they try to help out every single series possible. They've just expanded in the past, I want to say 2 years, over to dirt. So now they're trying to do dirt series as well. Now I think in the past year they're trying to do rally dirt series as well, with the rally trucks and everything. So they're really trying to divert and open up the motorsports world and trying to introduce people into different types of series. So I think, they're trying to evenly spread it apart. But I think from a publicity standpoint, iRacing does tend to lean more towards NASCAR itself and the stock cars itself, because right now in America here, the stock cars is the biggest motorsports organization you're going to find. And that's where iRacing is based out of, right here in North America. So they're kind of just hitting more to home with the stock car series.
Okay. And they did a stock car race iRacing a couple weeks ago, right? Didn't they do that?
Yeah.
And that was like a full production. Now after all that 7 minutes we're back to Tuesday evening invitational. How many cars were there in the field?
We had 25 starters in the field for the Formula Regionals race out of Road Atlanta.
So the track was
Our
Road
first
Atlanta.
race of the season.
Everybody's around the world participating in this, as long as you got an internet connection and an iRacing setup and some type of rig, which could be an advanced and
it could be from anywhere to a full-blown sim rig with a chassis and everything, to a pop-up laptop and a steering wheel computers, just kind of clamped down to your desk.
Right. So rigs is what we call the actual simulator that holds some type of way to view the race, which could be either with goggles, as in a virtual reality, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screens. I guess you could have completely surrounded, and anywhere from, like, our system, my son built out a PVC pipe, and it's very good. We have full adjustable seats and everything. We started with VR. We recently converted to a single curved screen, which for me, being an older guy, I find myself I'm in the rig a lot more than I was at virtual reality. I just enjoy it a lot. It's just better for me. That's not for everybody.
It's enticed you more to come do more racing.
It has, and I have been tearing it up recently since I can't do anything else. 25 starters in the field, and so you go out and you qualify just like a regular
Yeah, it was a 20-minute practice, 15-minute qualifying, and then they had us set up for a 35-minute race. Qualifying was just open qualifying, so go out whenever, find a buddy to just kind of draft behind if you need to, get a little bit of slipstream down the
Oh,
back
no.
straight.
Now, wait a minute. So you can go out and qualify, and you can ask a friend to join you for qualifying?
If they're willing to help you, yes.
So this
You
is
can make those
cool. So,
so you can make those kind of relationships if you want to. Most of the time they don't really work out as well. You just kind of run into each other on the track. Um,
so does this
but if
person
you
have
have
to be one of the 25, or can it be like my son go out in front of you to draft for you?
No, it has to be one of the 25 in
Oh,
your
okay,
qualifying session.
okay,
Yes.
okay,
So it has to be within the qualifying session. You just can't ask a random person off the street, hey, you want to come qualify with me and help me
okay,
out?
okay,
No.
okay.
So yeah, it's got to be in the session, and you just got to coordinate it with each other. You see a lot of Formula One teams try to do this because, you know, they want, of course, want to be try to get one, two, or at least put one of their cars in the front row. So what they'll try to do is use their teammate to pull the guys, what they call them. So they'll have the lead car out in front, and then have one of the teammates go out right behind and try to slipstream and get the draft off them to kind of increase their straight line speed. Now you can't allow the guy in front of you to try to slow you up, otherwise it's going to compromise your lap. So
And
some people try to do that in the FR Americas race. I know I had a couple people try to come up in front of me who came up, and maybe some people who kind of came up behind me, and I try to, help them out and then pull out of the way at the last second if possible. Or I saw some guys were just kind of pulling over to the side to get a clear lap for each other.
interesting. And is the car? Could you change the setup, or was it a stock car? Is it provided by the race series, or and you just go out and you get your car, or how do you get your car?
So what we did was we just created a stock setup. Since most of us are all just drivers, we really don't know. I wouldn't say too much about the setup. I mean, we know some changes and everything, but we're not going to know like the ins and outs of a car, what makes it faster and everything. We're not mechanical engineers or anything. So, we're drivers. So they just have a fixed setup. So all it comes down to is just driver skill.
So
There's no setups
everybody
involved.
had the same setup. Okay.
Same car, same basically everything. Yes.
And what car were
It's
you
what they
driving?
call fixed setups.
Okay. And what car were you driving?
So we were driving the Dallara F3. This is the same car that is raced over in Europe for the FIA F3 series. So it's a little bit quicker than the cars that we will be driving this year, but our cars are not too far off.
Okay. And so you go and how did qualifying go?
Qualifying was pretty good, I would say. It took a little bit of a while to get used to the track for me because the different time conditions that we've been practicing in the whole time. I was always practicing in like late afternoon to afternoon conditions, and then we get into the race and it's basically at sunset. So, that they kind of threw us a curveball for time conditions and track conditions on that one. But I was trying my best. I had one of my fastest laps going. I got a nice draft from someone, and then as soon as I got to the last chicane, I fumbled it up a little bit on the exit and put my left side tires into the grass, and it just got the car all bad out of shape, and I had to catch it. So unfortunately, I didn't get a good qualifying time as I'd like to, but I was able to qualify around the 19th position on the 25 cars. But I was, I think, half second, maybe 7/10 off. So not too bad. It was a pretty tight field, obviously.
Wow, obviously. So if you bend a car, let's say you go off and you bend a tie rod, or so you go off the track and you bend a tie rod, does the computer system know that, and now you're driving with a bent tie rod the rest of the race?
Absolutely. The thing is with the F3 cars now with iRacing is they have what they're trying to do to all these cars is create a new damage mod. So what it is when a car now runs into the wall, parts and pieces are going to start flying just like it would in real life. Parts are going to start breaking off. You're not going to have like bent up parts, but the tire's going to still remain on to where you can drive it. No, the tire can just fall right off, and next thing you don't have a tire with you. So they're making the damage model a little bit more realistic to allow the crashing a little bit more realistic. The bad part with that is if you do get in a wreck, you have to limp it back to pit road. Now, this is where it gets interesting with iRacing. They have a thing where you can press a button and it resets the car, but it tows you back. So with the tow, it's like an actual tow truck comes to get you. So it's about 1.5 to 2 minutes worth of waiting, and you can't do anything in your pit stall because you're being towed back. So it's in these races, it's almost beneficial to drive back to pit road because what we have are called quick repairs or resets, which as soon as you drive in your box, It takes 1 second, and boom, you got a brand new car. So it's based on time. Is how much time you're wasting is what it comes down to in these races.
If you so if a car explodes, a car in front of you hits something, and you run over it, do you puncture? Can you puncture your own tire and everything?
I think they just introduced in this recent update. I know iRacing brings out updates almost every single day. That's the one frustrating part about iRacing. But I think what they did in this recent update is allow tires to kind of go down. So now you could get flat tires. Now I'm not sure if you can get a flat tire by running over debris, but I know for sure tire wear wise you can now get a flat tire.
Interesting. And my last question, I lost my. I was so enthralled with what you were telling me. I had no idea. Oh, I know what is going to be the race conditions. So yeah, so this is so detailed that an early track, a cold track, a warm track, sun on the track, all that stuff, shadows coming across the track is all very realistic.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, iRacing also does is it generates the time too. So as the race it used to be where you start off in a certain time, certain condition, and it stays like that the entire race. Now it's constantly generating and it's constantly changing. So the temperature is constantly changing. The wind is even constantly changing in the iRacing in the sim. The time is changing. The sun is changing its position. The cloud cover is coming over. I mean, you're putting in every single variable and factor into the sim now that you had to compensate for instead of just being a set time, set date, set weather, and everything.
And how much time did you put into practicing before you? So you knew it was going to be at Road America, right?
No,
I'm
Road
sorry.
Atlanta. Yeah, I knew it was.
I'm sorry,
You're
Road
fine.
Atlanta, right?
I knew it was going to be we knew it was going to be at Road Atlanta. That was the first race of the FRAmericas scheduled race, but then they just kind of based off the regular schedule. So I was already having my practice in on it. I'd say I'd probably put in. I don't want to sound like over exaggerating here, but I think I'm over like 10 to 15 hours. I want to say for this one race.
So you knew the track pretty well.
Oh yeah.
And so the race starts, and you immediately make a move.
Yes. So the race starts, and it's nice, calm, cool, collected, and everyone's just kind of bundled up with each other, going through the first two corners, and then we get to turn 3, and I want to say all hell just breaks loose. One car gets spun, another car gets spun, and next thing you know, the track's blocked, and everyone's just kind of going each and every direction to try to divert it. The only move I could have made, since I was technically on the outside of his corner, I just went to the outside as wide as I could to try to avoid the wreck. I think I might have just clipped one of the guys just a little bit, but it wasn't enough to affect my car performance at all. So I was able to just continue on, but I just went to the outside, kind of just went through the grass a little bit, and then came back on the track. And I think I started 19th, and I came across the line, I think the first lap in 12th.
Yeah, it was pretty quick move up there. So was it a standing start or is it a rolling start?
Yes, standing start.
Standing start, and yeah. So now you're in 12th, and you just start trying to reel them in this 35 minute race, right?
Yeah. As the race logs on and goes on and everything, people are going to start to find their place. The fast guys are going to start to move their way up to the front. Slow guys will start coming back, and the medium guy and the guys who are just kind of maintaining pace are just going to kind of sit in the middle of the track itself. So some of the fast guys who got caught up in the first wreck started to pass me as we went by, and then I started catching up to some of the slower guys. We were able to make some moves on them, and then everybody was wrecking here and there. So guys were falling off here and there and everything. It was just you had no idea where you were going to end up until you get to the end of the race. So it was kind of an eventful race, I will say.
Yeah, you came across. You made a couple more moves, and I think you got to the 8th position for a while. Is that right?
Yeah, the highest I got up to was 6th for a little bit, but then I hunkered around the 8th position, and then was kind of flirting with the top 10 most of the day.
And did people have spotters, or did you have a spotter?
I had a buddy with me in the chat with me, just kind of talking to me along. He was watching live stream, so he was kind of telling me who's having a problem, where they're wrecking at, and everything, and who's the next car in front of me for position and everything like that. So yeah, most of these guys, I don't know if they really will have spotters, but we did get an email out this past week saying that we are allowed to have spotters now in the sim race with us. So I think I probably will have someone with me for the next race.
Yeah, this whole thing. I mean, I'm mid-50s here, and I'm just enamored with this whole idea that this sim racing is as good as it is. The quality is as interesting as it is, and I don't know, I think it's just pretty cool. So So yeah, so you ended up getting ninth in the first race.
Yeah, we ended up finishing ninth and running out of gas on the final lap too.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Well, okay, so the way it happened was they made it to where fuel was going to be 1 to 2 laps short, but since the way my pace was going and the way I got caught up in a couple wrecks early on, I actually ended up going a lap down later in the race, but I was in the ninth position. So I decided, as it was coming up to the line, I was adjusting my fuel and tires and everything to come in that lap. But as soon as I saw the white flag was out, I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go for it and try to save as much fuel as I can. And I ended up running out of gas down the backstretch. Had to coast through the chicane and get up the hill. And then as soon as I got up the hill, coming to the line, I just rolled it down the hill and made it across the line to finish in ninth.
Wow.
Without any gas in my tank. So.
Is there another planned race coming up?
Yeah, so next Tuesday, this next Tuesday, which was about 3 days from now, and then this podcast is being aired. We are racing at Circuit of the Americas, COTA, for the next race of the iRacing Pro Invitational for FRAmericas.
So as any race has been, St. Pete was no. So the first race is supposed to be at Road Atlanta. Is that officially canceled?
Yes. That is postponed. They have not come up with a release date yet for real time. But I'm sure they're going to reschedule it either with another event or they're going to try to push Road Atlanta to later in the year, to where we go. It won't be the first race of the season, obviously, but it might be like the fourth, fifth, or maybe even the seventh race. I don't know.
So is it planned? So the non-virtual world, the real world racing.
Yes.
Was that a race every weekend, or is that a couple a month? Or
no, it was like once a month. The first race, like I said, was going to be in April, which was like April 13th, I think, was Road Atlanta, and then we were supposed to take the month of May off and then come back in June to go to Circuit of the Americas. Now, with this whole hiatus that's going on, I wonder if they're going to try to put a race in the month of May. But it all depends on when this whole hiatus kind of lifts and passes over us.
Okay. So, what else has been going on? What else has been going on in Jordan Missing Racing world?
Right now, we just kind of been practicing for Circuit of the Americas for the iRacing series. We get the points back. Since we did finish in ninth in the first race, they did have some guest drivers who finished in front of us, and they didn't include the guest drivers for points. So theoretically, out of the FR America Championship drivers, we ended up actually finishing fifth. So I think we got 10 points out of the event. So the way they do the point standings, it's all through like regular Grand Prix point standings. So 25 points for first, 18 points for second, 15 for third, 12 for fourth, and I think like 10 for fifth, and then it's like 8, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, I believe it goes, or 4, 2, 1, and then 0, something like that. So yeah, we are fifth in points right now going into this next race. So yeah, it's all just practicing for Circuit of the Americas coming up here on next Tuesday.
Okay. So, and do these points count for real racing?
No.
No. This is
what
they're
they
going to
do
be two
is
separate. They're going to be a full virtual championship and a full world championship.
Yeah. We're probably going to get obviously we're probably going to get the virtual championship done before the real season starts, obviously. But they did put some prize on the money. Well, now I'd say probably was money on the line, but they put some prizes on the line to where the winner of this championship will receive a free set of tires presented by Hankook. So we get a free set of Hankook tires for the season. Second place, I think, if I remember correctly, I don't remember the second place spot, honestly, because I'm not worried about trying to get second place. I'm trying to get first. But third place is for sure, I know, gets the third place person receives a watch. So from one of our new sponsors of the FRAmericas series. So we're pretty excited about that. Get them a lot of prizes on the line here. So there's something to race for sure.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, thanks. We'll meet again next week and talk about what's going on with pretty interesting week, I think, in the virtual world of racing. And I'll be tuning in again Tuesday.
Yes.
About 7 o'clock Central, is that right?
7 p.m. Eastern Time. The races will be broadcasted on Formula Regionals' Facebook page, YouTube channel, as well as they have a Twitch stream, which all that can be found on my Jordan Missick Racing Facebook page. And if you do want to watch a live stream as well from the in-car view, you can also go to my Facebook page as well. There will be a live stream as well.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. All right, Jordan. Well, have a great weekend. Thanks for being on the show, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, John. Appreciate it.